Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. So happy to have you here. It's our second virtual training session. I can see you, Adeduni, Adekweju, Favor. Hello, welcome. Mercy, Olawumi, can see you here. Welcome. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Morenike Ojurongwe, and I'm the project manager at Elective, and I'll be coordinating the training for today. So we're going to start right off, but we'll just give people between 2 to 3 minutes to join. I can see a whole lot of people still joining. Our facilitator is around. We're ready to kick off. We're ready to kick off. Please use the comment section, make use of the comment section to introduce yourselves, where you're joining us from today. It's a beautiful weather in Lagos today, so I hope everybody's keeping cool and there are no issues. So please make use of the comment section, introduce your name, where you're joining us from today, and what you're hoping to learn from the training. Hello, Adekweju. Adeduni, welcome. So I think we can start right off. We have a packed day and we want to keep to time. We know the training is for 2 hours, so we're going to hopefully keep to time. So just a quick housekeeping rules, just quick run through of the agenda today. In some minutes, we're going to be having Ibijoke, the co-founder of Elective, join us to give a few opening remarks. Then we'll go straight on into the training, which will last for 40 minutes tops. And then we'll move on to a panel discussion. But just before then, the training would have a 5 minutes window where people can ask questions about what has been taught so far. And please, if we don't take your questions at that point, there'll be another part section where a Q&A session where people can ask more questions. Thereafter, we'll be going into a panel discussion where we would have panel members come and share their experiences about joining political parties and the intricacies of the party system in Nigeria. Thereafter, we'll be going into a Q&A session will last for 30 minutes and then we'll be rounding off. So please make use of the comment section to drop your comments. The Q&A box is there for your questions and we'll aim to answer all questions within time. Amina, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we're just going to kick off. Okay, so I can see your video now. So we're just going to kick off. Just a minute. Just give a little bit of like a minute for others to join in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, I think we're almost good to go. Okay. Please continue to make use of the comment section. I can see a lot of people introducing themselves. And also please drop what you want to learn from the training today. What key lessons would you want to take away as well? Okay. So the survey will be launched at the end of the training for people to answer a few questions. So please, once the call ends, then you will be able to see the survey, and please kindly take some time out to fill the questions. Intermittently also, please look through the comment section. We'll be dropping some polls and quizzes as well during the training for everyone to please make an input as well. So not to waste much of our time, everyone is set. I'd like to introduce Ibijoke Faborode, the co-founder of Elective, to give opening remarks. Ibijoke. Hi, Ibijoke, can you hear me?
Hello, Veronica, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, am I good to go?
Yes, you are.
All right. Well, hi, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you guys again ladies actually, thank you again for joining the second edition of our virtual training. Just going to give a very brief introduction and welcome, just to say that, we hope you look forward to a very great learning experience today. We have an exceptional facilitator. Please remember to always bring someone along when you register as well, so that we can keep growing our knowledge in the space as well. And we really hope that, today is going to be 2 hours of exceptional lesson and great experience for you. But thank you so much. As you know, Elector is an organization that is committed to getting more women into elective office. And earlier on March 1st, we launched our Agenda 35 campaign, which is essentially our short-term plan towards the 2023 general elections, which is supposed to raise $10 million to support empower 1,000 women widely, but directly fund and support 35 women to run in the 2023 general election across parliament and executive offices. So I'm sure Morenike will share some links to some of the great initiatives at the moment. Please remember to follow our work closely, support where you can, and also spread the work as well. But today's topic is very crucial to everyone actually. So wherever you are in your journey at the moment, if you're looking to, if you're looking into the space and you do not have like the deep knowledge you have, I'm sure today we help you sort of with some direction on what next to do. But also if you're looking to run in 2023, I'm sure from our great facilitator, Amina, you're going to learn some of the critical things you need to do. And secondly is we have a panel session to give a more realistic overview where people that have actually been in the game can help you understand the reality of things so that you can plan appropriately Well, thank you all for joining again. I hope you have an exceptional experience. Please remember to engage, use the Q&A feature and use the chat box as well to engage. But I leave you in the hands of Morenike and Amina, and I'm going to be a student myself. So thank you very much. Welcome all again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibijoke, for that opening remark. And as she said, we have an exceptional facilitator. I'm looking forward to learning as much as I can as well. Political parties and that space has been one place that I know people want to learn a whole lot from. So not taking much of our time anymore. Welcome, Amina. Can you share your screen?
Thank you very much, Morenike,
Yeah.
and thank you, Ibijoke.
Great, welcome. So Amina is an international development practitioner, and she has been focusing on governance, democracy, and politics issues for a very long time. We're happy to announce also that she's the first female union president of her institution at the age of 21, and the second woman in Northern Nigeria to attain that position. So you can really imagine that we have come prepared today to kind of make sure that women are on top and remain on top. So as I said earlier, and just to reiterate, please kindly make use of the comment section to drop any comments you may have, and the Q&A box for your questions, and we would take the questions intermittently during the training. But at the end, after the panel session, we would have a full 30 minutes to take more questions. So welcome everyone, and Amina, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Morenike, and thank you, Ibijoke. Thank you to Electa for giving me this opportunity to share this knowledge with participants, and also an opportunity to learn from them as well, because I was just looking at the chat box and I was reading some of the CVs of the participants, and I see that we have a lot of seasoned and experienced participants with us today. So it's going to be a learning session for I and the participants as well. We learn from each other, and I think it's going to be a very interesting one. So I'm sure now everybody can see my screen. Today we would be talking about running for elective office in Nigeria, with particular focus on political parties. Political parties are very, very important when it comes to the issue of running for office in Nigeria, because as it is, Nigeria does not have independent candidacy. At some point during the rally around the Not Too Young to Run campaign, it was one of the points that was proposed to the National Assembly, but that particular point did not fly. So we do not have independent candidature. And what that means is that for you to run for office, you have to be a member of a political party. And if that is the case, then how it means it's very important to understand how political parties work and their structures and all of that. So as you know, the Elector Academy is focused on bridging the knowledge gap for African women in politics. I think it's something that is we are all passionate about. We want to see more women running for office. We want to see more women getting elected into positions, but there's a lot of things that we also have to put in place in order to make this happen. And I'm happy to support Elector in making sure that this becomes reality. So no need to go over this again. Morenike has already introduced me, and thank you for that. All the accolades that you mentioned while introducing me, I appreciate that a lot. So we would look at political parties. First of all, how many political parties do we have in Nigeria? If you've been following the news, you would see that at some point in Nigeria, we have so many political parties. I think we had about 70 something at some point, and it was a whole lot. But after a while, there had to be some sort of reorganization. Let me put it in that way. Oh, I forgot to mention that there is a poll that will be in the chat box. So please make sure to answer the question as we go along. We just want to find out if you are a member of a political party. So please be honest so that we know how many people we have as part of the trainees who are already members of political parties, and then how many people are not. And we're hoping that at the end of this training, you would be motivated. You would see why it's important for you to become a member of a political party. So please make sure to look at the chat box and respond to the question, the poll question that has been put in there. Like I was saying, we currently now have only 18 recognized registered political parties in Nigeria. And those are the ones that you can see on your screen right now. There used to be many of them, but INEC, these are the ones that INEC recognizes so far. So if you're thinking of becoming a member of a political party, it has to be one of these, unless going further, INEC decides to add more to the list based on their ability to fulfill the rules and the guidelines that are involved in, having a political party. So these are the 18 political parties that are recognized as of today in Nigeria. Those are the ones that you can currently see on your screen. Now let's talk about what the objectives are. So at the end of this training, there are 4 major things that would want for you to take home with you. And the first one is for you to understand the basic electoral laws governing the administration of political parties in Nigeria. We want you to have an idea, to know what the laws are that are backing how political parties operate in Nigeria, the guidelines and all of those things. There has to be some law, there has to be some sort of legal framework that guides the establishment and operations of political parties. So those are some of the things that we would be explaining to you in detail so that you understand what the extent to which political parties can operate under the confines of the law. And then the second one is going from ground zero to party membership. How do you go from just being an ordinary citizen to one who is a member of a political party, one who is interested in a political party? What are the things that you need to put in place before you go from being just you, an ordinary citizen, to actually being a citizen who is a member of a political party in Nigeria? And then the third point would be on the inner workings of political parties. So the administration and structures. It's just like in your office space where you have hierarchy and everyone has a particular position and they have roles and responsibilities that are assigned to them based on that position. So it's like talking about the structure. Where does this position fall? Where does this one fall? How are these structures distributed? And how does one connect to the other? So these are some of the things that we'll be discussing that we expect you to take home at the end of this training. And then the fourth point is focusing more on the processes, right? So there's a political party, there are structures, we've talked about the membership. What are the processes that are involved? What are the things that you need to focus on, the things that you need to take into account as a political party member that will take you from the point of being just you, an ordinary citizen, to you who is a member of a political party, to you who has become an aspirant, and then to you who has become the candidate. And that's what we want to see, especially working from now towards the 2023 election. We want to see more women becoming candidates, not just aspirants, and then eventually getting elected into position. So there's no way that you will be able to do this if you do not understand what the processes are that are involved and how these processes could affect you going from point A to point B. So these 4 major points are the objectives of this training. And we are hopeful that at the end of the training, through the discussions that we would have and from your contributions as well, and through the panel session as well, where we would have people who would walk us through some of the practical sessions, some of the things I would have said in theory, people who can relay their experiences for us. At the end of the day, we would have been able to achieve these 4 objectives. So help us God. So now let's go to how this is going to work. So we have divided the training into 4 parts. And at the end of each of the two parts, when we've taken two parts, we'll give room for you to ask some of your questions. We'll take one or two before we go to the next part, just so we don't lose those questions as they are coming in. And the first part, we'll be talking about the basic electoral laws guiding political parties. And then the second part would be where we talk about, going from ground zero to party membership, explaining all the steps that are involved. And the third part is where we talk about the structures, the inner workings, explain how the structures are to you. And then the fourth part is where we focus on the processes that are involved. Excuse me for just a minute, please.
Hello, welcoming everyone that's just joining us. Our facilitator will be joining us shortly. Please make use of the comment section to drop your comments and the Q&A box as well. Okay, so we have Amina back. Hi, Amina.
Thank you very much, Morenike, and I apologize to everyone for that distraction. I apologize for that distraction. So as I was saying, these are the 4 points that we are going to be, that we have divided the training into, and we are going to start with the first one, which is talking about the basic electoral laws governing administration of political parties. So what we want to do here is to make you understand that political parties do not just operate in a vacuum, right? There are laws that guide how political parties work. And these laws guide how, from the point where they are created to the point where they are registered, even to details about how they would operate, their operations, and all of those things. So there are laws and there are legal frameworks that back how these political parties will operate. So the first one, which is the most important, of course, we have to talk about the Nigerian Constitution. And this is because every aspect of our lives is guided by the Nigerian Constitution. And if you look at your screen now, you would see where it says the section in the Nigerian Constitution that talks about the details of INEC, how INEC relates to political parties. And the reason why we want to start with this point is to make you understand that there is another there is a section of the government, a government agency that is saddled with the responsibility of managing political parties. So this brings me back to the point where I had said that political parties do not operate in a vacuum. Fine. Now, the Nigerian Constitution has allowed for that freedom, that ability for you to become a member of a political party, to become members of groups and all. Subsequently, in the training, we'll talk more deeply about that section. But now we're trying to make you understand that it is INEC that guides how political parties operate. And the first bullet point there is the one that everybody knows about. INEC is saddled with the responsibility of conducting elections, either at the state, at the national level, and all of that. But the second, which is now the third bullet point, is what I want you to focus on. And it's the part that says that register political parties in accordance with provisions of the Constitution and an act of the National Assembly. So what that says is that INEC, under the confines of the law, INEC is that government agency that is saddled with the responsibility of registering political parties, but not just registering political parties, in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Yeah, there are guidelines, there are rules and regulations, and some of those we'll also still talk about as we go further. But INEC is saddled with that responsibility of registering political parties. And then the next point talks about monitor the organization and operation of political parties. So it's not just to register the political parties and that's it, but INEC, once again, still has that role of monitoring the organization and operations of political parties. And that's the reason why, as we go further and explain, you would see the points where we talk about how when parties are having some of their activities, they could also invite INEC to as observers, to observe the process and what they're doing. So that tells you again that it's the relationship I was trying to explain in the beginning. It's not just to register the political parties, but also to monitor their operation and how they carry out their roles and responsibilities. And then another point is also to arrange for annual examination and auditing of funds and accounts of political parties. So INEC also has that mandate. It has been given that mandate by the Nigerian Constitution, by the law, to examine and audit the funds and accounts of political parties, and then publish it and make it a document that is accessible to the public, something that when you go to INEC website, you should be able to find this information there. And there's also another point about monitor political party campaigns and provide rules and regulations which govern the activities of political parties. So there's a lot of responsibilities for INEC to do in terms of managing how political parties operate, from the point of registering them to monitoring their operations, to monitoring their finances as well, and then even to the point of monitoring their campaigns and providing rules and regulations. So and another important thing that we should look at under this, basic laws and legal framework is the political party constitution. Every political party has a constitution. The constitution is, simply put, it is the guiding document of the political party, where it talks about the structures, the leadership, the roles and responsibilities of each of the positions, the guidelines, how their campaigns will be conducted, how their all their processes and everything. Is just a detailed explanation of all of this information. But there is a difference between political party constitution and manifesto. And we didn't put manifesto in here because it's not necessarily something that you would refer to as a legal framework. Manifesto could change very very consistently. So, but the political party constitution is more of the one that talks about all of the processes and all of the structures and every other information that you need. The manifesto is what the party intends to do if elected into power. This is just simply putting it through. Contains a lot of information, but simply putting it through, that is what it entails. So, and then we had the code of conduct for political parties. This is something that you would find this on the INEC website. And so it's generally a guideline for political parties. It talks about the rule of law, the fact that parties, people have freedoms, rules and regulations must be followed. Parties should not engage in any activities that would cause violence, that will cause loss of life. Intimidation should not happen. There should be no inducement. Parties should not use, state-owned media to their own advantage. All of these are things that you will find code of conduct, the part that talks about the rule of law. And there's another part that also talks about campaigns. So this part talks about details of, guidelines for parties when they're doing their campaigns. Parties are supposed to give INEC a notice when they are going to do their campaign, provide INEC with that information, they're going to do their campaign, the date, the venue, and all of that. And they are not supposed to engage in any act that could cause violence. They're not supposed to carry arms. You will find all of this information in that aspect. And this code of conduct still goes further to talk about elections as well. The do's and don'ts that are expected from parties during elections, how parties should coordinate themselves, how they should ensure there's no violence, there's no disruption, and all of those things. So the code of conduct is basically divided into 4 parts. The first part is the preamble. It's generally introduction and all of that. The second part is the one that talks about the rule of law, how the rule of law must be respected at all points by political parties. Then there's the third part that talks about campaigns, providing guidelines on how parties should do their campaigns and all of that. And then there's a fourth part that talks about the elections itself, giving parties all the information on how their elections should be conducted, how they're expected to, coordinate themselves in such a manner that there is no disruption of properties or loss of lives and all of that. So these are the basic laws and legal frameworks that are related to political party structures and administration. And this is the part where we've talked about how, the relationship between INEC and political parties, because of the fact that they are saddled with that responsibility of registering political parties. So they also have to do all of this. And then you can also look at party constitutions and code of conduct as other documents that you can refer to when you want to have more information about, laws and frameworks that guide the operations of political parties. So now let's talk about definition of political parties. We have three definitions here on the screen, and there's the first one. Let's look at the first one. Political party is an organized platform aimed at mobilization of like minds. The keyword there, like minds, towards the capture of political power and creating an enabling environment, structures, and institutions through which power is going to be authoritatively exercised. So the first one is talking about how it's like minds coming together with the purpose of capturing political power and creating an enabling environment, structures, and institutions through which power is going to be authorized. So it's not just about capturing political power, but it's also about when you capture the political power as a political party, what do you do with it? You create an enabling environment. You put structures in place. You ensure that institutions are working and structures are working so that citizens can benefit from the fact that you have now gotten access to power. Whether or not this is the actual case is something that I would want you to continue to ponder upon as we discuss this. We have the definitions here. You see all the words and everything. I want you to think about this and also think about what you see that is obtainable in Nigeria. Just some points for you to ponder on as we continue to discuss this. So it says this process includes, but not limited to, the process of leadership recruitment, membership mobilization, interest articulation, and policy formulation. So all of these are processes that are involved in terms of when you are explaining what a political party entails. So capturing power, creating enabling environment, putting structures in place, policy formulation, and all of these things, they are all greatly related to what a political party should be. And then the second one says the political party is simply a group of people who organize themselves to win elections from government and operate public policies in an ideal democratic government. Simply a group of people who organize themselves to win elections. So what that means is that as a citizen, you have that freedom to organize yourselves and become members of a party to win elections and then form a government and then work on public policies in an ideal democratic environment. I just want you to ponder on some keywords. You have the word there, ideal democratic environment, and maybe think about some other African countries and think about that word, ideal democratic environment, a group of people who organize themselves to win elections. Some of these keywords I just want you to think about and try to ponder upon them relating to Nigeria and other countries as well, other African countries. And then the third definition. So what all of these definitions are talking about is just trying to say that political parties are the goal is to win elections, but it's not just about winning elections as well. It's also about what happens after the elections, how you put structures in place that would ensure that institutions are working. And then at the end of the day, citizens are able to benefit from the dividends of democracy. When you look at all the three definitions, you would see that in one way or another, it captures all of these essences that I have mentioned about how people can organize themselves to win elections and then ensure that they put things in place that would make citizens enjoy the benefits of democracy. So then now that we have gotten an idea of what a political party is, then let's go to the next point. Let's talk about party membership. Fine, now you know what a political party is. But what does party membership entail? What is party membership and what does it entail? So party membership involves an individual or group desire, willingness, and decision and resolution to join and belong to a political party, either conditionally or unconditionally. So conditionally or unconditionally means that you may want to be a member of a political party unconditionally, just because you just want to be a member, not necessarily because you intend to run for office or you intend to get something from the party. And it could also be conditionally. You may want to become a member of a political party because maybe you intend to run for a position, or you intend to become uh, an official of that political party, or there is something in particular that you are aiming at within that political party, and you feel like the only way that you will get it is by being a member of the party. So that's the reason I would say it could be conditionally or unconditionally. And then party membership also involves processes. Party membership, for membership registration, this is the part where you register with the political party. When we go further into the discussion, we'll talk about how the registration process goes, where you go to register and what are the things that are involved for you to do the membership registration. So, but in this part, the party membership entails you register, which is the membership registration. You register with the party for you to become a member. A payment of membership fees periodically. Different political parties have different, they have different amounts that the members are expected to pay as membership dues periodically. It could be monthly, it could be yearly. Parties have the full right to decide how much they want their members to pay. So attending meetings are scheduled. Parties would have meetings regularly, either at different levels. Okay, let me not mention the levels yet because we haven't gotten to that point. But parties would have meetings at different levels at different times. So party membership entails not just you registering, but also paying your dues and attending meetings as scheduled as well. And then another point is respect and honor both the party leadership and the party rules. I mean, you can't be a member of a party when you don't respect the leadership. Every party has a leadership that coordinates how the operations and the workings of that party work. So you have to respect the leadership and the rules and regulations that your party has. Then you have to be committed and loyal to your party as well. You're not expected to, be a member of your party. You've registered, you've done everything, but then you are not committed. When there are meetings, you don't attend. When the party calls on you, you are not there. You don't show any form of commitment. That is not something that is expected from someone who wants to be a member of a party. And then the other point to mention, in some other places, in other parts of the world, like the US, you would find people many times being volunteers. They will serve as volunteers of their party when there are activities or programs that the party wants to do. They would not necessarily come under the confines of party members, but there will be more of volunteers, helping with organizing, helping with distribution of materials, helping with mobilizing people to attend their events and all of that. This is something that is very common in some other parts of the world, like the US, for example. You would find them using the term more volunteers, and that's the reason why we've put that in here. But in Nigeria, most times parties would prefer to for people to operate under the confines of being members of political party. But I think I've also come across some young people who have said that they are volunteers for political parties. They have not necessarily registered as members, but they have interest in how in those particular parties, and so they have offered themselves for any to help out with planning or executing any activities of the party as volunteers, but they are not necessarily registered members of the political party. So what that means is that you can actually be a volunteer for a political party without being a member. It means you're just maybe you have interest, you're just helping out, you're interested in the process, you want to learn more, but you have not yet decided to be a member of that party. In that case, you're a volunteer, but you can also be a member and a volunteer at the same time. It just depends, and it varies from one place to the other, like I've mentioned. In Nigeria, party volunteers is not very, it's not very common like you would find in other parts of the world. So now that we've talked about what the membership entails, you know, how it's not just about registering to be a member, you have to attend meetings, you need to respect the leadership, you need to be committed and all of that. We also need to talk about what your duties are as a member of the party. So you need to pay dues. You need to pay your dues as at when you need to promote and protect the party name. You know, you shouldn't say, oh, I'm a member of party A, but at the same time, you are also the one who is saying, oh, party A is very terrible. Party A is not good. Party A is not. If you want to do that, you do it in a constructive manner. That is what the party expects you to do. I'm not talking about what people expect you to do. We're talking about what the party expects from you as a party member. So what people would expect from you may be different depending on the context, depending on the political climate in the country and all of that. But for the political party, they expect you to always promote the party's name, to always protect the party image, not for you to, you know, be engaged in anything that could spoil the name of the party, that could ruin the image of the party and all of that. And you're also expected to assist in mobilizing new members. So fine, you have decided, you have become a member of this party, but your party also needs more people. It needs more members. And that's the only way that they will be able to win elections. So the party expects you as a member to mobilize more members, for you to talk to people, convince them on why your party is the best choice for them and why it's important for them to become members of your party. And the party also expects you to actively participate in its schedules, you know, whether it's meetings, whether it's campaigns, whether it's elections, and all of those things. The party expects you to fully participate in all of this. And then to generate ideas and advocate problem solving ways. So you could also, you know, help your party with ideas that could help to manage the party better. Is it in terms of operation? Is it in terms of structure? Is it in terms of communication even? If you have better ideas on how you think your party can work better, how the image of your party can be projected more in a positive light, these are all of the things that are your duties as a party member. You should be able to put that forward and provide all of this information to your party that would help the party, you know, to be better and for it to be better received by the citizens. So yeah, just for emphasis again, at this point now, we've been able to take two parts of our training module. We've talked about the basic electoral law, and we talked about from ground zero to party membership. So we've been able to explain what the laws are that guide political parties and how you go, what party membership entails. What does it entail to become a member of a political party, and what is expected of you as a member of a political party? So before we go to the next part, which is talking about the inner workings, where we'll talk about the political party structures and administration, are there any questions that have been put in the chat box? Morenike, if there's any question, or if you want to call up anyone to ask, maybe we can take one or two questions before we go to the third part of the module.
Thank you for that, Amina. Please make use of the Q&A box. And you could kindly indicate as well, and I will unmute you. We have just a short period to take the questions at this point on what has been taught so far.
Okay, so do I move on? Maybe you just do me a sign when you.
I think we have one question, and we can just take one for now.
Okay.
Okay. Grace, you have the floor. Grace, can you hear us?
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Amina, for that insightful knowledge you've just shared. So my question is this. Is it okay that politicians give benefits? You know, when they have skill acquisition programs, when they have any of the benefits that should be coming to constituency, they tend to give it to the party members first. Is it a strategy to increase membership? Is that a good thing?
Thank you very much, Grace, for that very important question. And that's something that comes to the point where we talk about separating politics from governance. And if I'm going to be honest with you, that is something that a lot of political parties, a lot of elected officials find very difficult to do, separating politics from governance. Now, if we are talking about if it's coming from the pockets of the political party, fine. Let's say party A decides that, okay, we have this skill acquisition program that we want to do for our party members, specific that, okay, this is our party and we want to do A, B, and C for our party members. In that case, it is okay. Because one of the roles and responsibility of parties, remember when we're talking about what political parties are, is also to create an enabling environment. So if a party has the resources and it has the finances to do some of these things or provide things that would help better their lives, as a political party saying we want to do this for our members, that is okay. But as an elected official, when you are elected, it's no longer about your party alone. You are elected, you have become a representative of all the people in your community. And bearing in mind that all the people in your community may not necessarily be members of your party or your supporters. They may not even be people who voted you into power. But when you become elected, it is not just about your political party alone. You have become a representative of an entire community. So in that case, when you have resources that are supposed to go to the community, that's supposed to go to the populace, and then you limit that to members of your political party alone, that is absolutely wrong. That is not supposed to be. That is not supposed to be how it's done. That is not how an ideal democracy should work. But if you are doing it as, oh, I'm a member of party A and I want to reward members of my party that are within my constituency. My party is doing A, B, and C. The funds are coming from my party, or this is something that is strictly for party members. That is a different thing. But as an elected official, you have now, you've passed the stage of campaigning. You've passed the stage of trying to be a candidate. You've already been elected to serve all the people, not just the members of your party. You no longer represent your party alone. You are serving all the people who are within that community. So now using resources that are meant for everybody to only members of your party, that would be absolutely wrong. And it's something that should be greatly discouraged. And it's something that we continue to talk about, how we advocate that leaders should be able to separate politics from governance. They're two different things. You know, when you're at the stage of politics, that is different. And when you come to the stage of governance, you need to look at people from a holistic view under one umbrella. This is something that will benefit people. So do it for the people. So do not make it more complex than it should be. So being able to separate those two, I think that will be the major point of how this should be done. Thank you for that question, Grace, and I hope that the response has been able to help you on how this is supposed to be. So I would go ahead, Morenike, with your permission, and just go ahead to the next session since we have responded to that.
Yes, please.
Right. Thank you very much. So we've talked about from ground zero to party membership. And this is the point where I had mentioned earlier when we're talking about the membership, I had said that we would go into more details about what are the steps that you need to take to become a member of the party. What we had talked about in the beginning is just, you know, trying to tell you what the party membership entails, what is expected of you, and all of that. But now, you want to run for office, what do you do? And let's start from, said like starting from ground zero. So this is still going back to the point of party membership. What is the first thing that you're supposed to do? So here, what we have done is to break down the steps for you. This is not exhaustive. There might be one or two things that are still that could still come in at some point, but these are the major things that you should look out for when you're going from the point of just you to the point where you have decided that you want to become a member of a party. So another thing to note is, according to the law of Nigeria, going by the constitution, you must be up to 18 years before you become a member of a political party. So you have to, you have reached a level of maturity that you can decide for yourself, you can make decisions for yourself. And so you have to be up to 18 years before you can become a member of a political party. So if you're up to 18 years, then the next thing is for you to decide to join a political party. And some of these steps that we have outlined here would help you in determining whether you want to belong to party A or B or C when you get their manifestos and constitutions and you read about them. In the beginning, I had talked about the constitution being like a guideline for the political parties. It talks about the structures, how the elections will be done, how the campaigns will be done, the roles and responsibilities of the leadership of the party, and then the manifesto is like what's simply put, what the party intends to do if it gets into power. So if you get the manifesto of Party A, you read about it and you see that Party A says, oh, when we get into power, we would ensure that more women have access to, we would ensure that women have access to paid leave after delivery. I'm just giving an example with that. And if that is something that strongly aligns to your thoughts, it's something that you think it's absolutely important, you believe in that, and the process through which the party has said they will do that, it's something that you agree with, then you begin to have a leaning towards that party. I'm just giving an example. So you could get manifestos and constitutions of different parties, you could study them, you could go through them and see which one of them seems to work better align with your thoughts and your ideologies and the things that you believe in. And then that would help you as you decide to join a political party. So when you've done this, the next thing will be for you to decide which party do you want to join. Like we said at the beginning, currently in Nigeria, there's only 18 parties that are recognized by INEC under the law. So you now have to decide which of these parties do you want to join. Okay, I have looked at the manifesto, I have looked at the constitution, I have read about the party, maybe I have listened to how people talk about the party, public perception. And at this point, I feel like I want to belong to party A, or I want to belong to party B or party C. So now that you have decided, the next thing for you to do is to find out where your ward is located within your local government. So your ward, the ward is a smaller unit, it's located under a local government. So let's say I am from Sokoto State. I'm Sokoto North local government to be precise, and I want to become a member of Party A. What that means is that I need to go back to Sokoto North. I need to find where my ward is. So where in Sokoto North do I come from? Gidan Igwe, for example. I need to go to Gidan Igwe and look for where my ward is. And that is the point where I would register as a member of a political party through the ward secretary. So the ward secretary will explain that much later when we talk about structure. So there are structures for political parties at different levels. But now that you have decided to join a party, you have to go to your local government. At the local government, you look for your ward, and then you would register under your ward. So when you register under your ward through the ward secretary will take you through maybe the forms for you to fill, any other detail that is required, it will take you through that. And then you register at the ward level, and then you get your membership card. So at this point, it means that you have now become a member of Party A or Party B or Party C, and then you would it would, you know, be of benefit more for you when you begin to attend ward meetings. You know, you start by attending ward meetings, get to know the people who are in your ward, especially if you have intentions of running for office. Later on, we will discuss how some of these things are important, especially when you are if you intend to run for office and you're engaging critical stakeholders. So you need to start by knowing the people who are the members of your ward, and that's the smallest unit. So you've obtained your membership card, you start attending ward meetings, and then from ward meetings, you know, you go into, you know, other activities of the party, you know, meetings at the state level, meetings at the national level, and all of those. So it's a step-by-step process, but the word is very important for you to, you know, to get acquainted with, you know, who the members of your ward are, who the people are. And from that point, you will begin to understand and begin to have an idea of, you know, what persons have influence at the ward level. And that would go a long way in helping you, especially as you intend to run for office. So these are the steps that we've broken down. Like I said, the steps are not exhaustive. There might be some other things that you would want to include as part of the steps, but these are the major ones that you need to take into account when you are moving from, you know, when you're moving into becoming a member of a political party in Nigeria. Okay, so would go to the third part. Now we are going to talk about the inner workings of political party administration structures. Now, we've talked about what political parties are. We've been able to understand what the membership entails. We've given a step-by-step explanation of how you go from, you know, how you move to becoming a member of a party, what are the things you need to do, what are the things you need to put into. Okay, so now that you're a member, let's understand, you know, the structures in political parties. Every association, every organization has structures. There are what people like to call exco. Most time you have excos, you have people who are responsible for the running of the political party day to day, how things would work and all of that. So now what we want to do here is to explain what the inner workings are, the structures, and how all of these things come into place. So you said, now that you're a party member, how do you navigate internal party structures? So let's go to, okay. So typically, this is what you would find as a structure for a political party. You would find you have the board of trustees, the national, will have the party at the national level and zonal level, state and zonal level, local government and ward level. So now I would explain why, okay, let's start with the board of trustees. The board of trustees is like it's just like when you have an organization, you have the board of trustees, and then you have the executive director, you have the program manager, you have this, you have that, like you have in the office, but you have the board of trustees that is like the highest level of the party. They're supposed to be providing a pathway, providing support, providing advice, giving guidelines to the exco on how the party should be run. So the board of trustees is high up there. And then after the board of trustees, you have the party at the national level. At the national level, typically would be the leadership of the party that would be at the what they call I'm trying to think of, the word is not coming right now, but I mean, this is mostly the leadership of the party that you will find in the capital. Yeah, in the capital of Nigeria, in Abuja, the structure you will find in Abuja. And when we go further, we'll break that down into further detail. So why we have national and zonal after the board of trustees is because when you have the national level, there's also the zonal level in terms of regions. You know, you have the south, you know, you have the southeast, you have all of that. So aside having the party structure at the national level, there are also zonal leadership structures. And as we go further, you would still have a point where we would break that down further for you to see what we mean by that. So we have the leadership at the national level. We still have the zonal national leadership. So this is talking about regions. Now, the leadership at the national level, most times they would be residing in the capital. Most times, I say, some parties, this may vary for some parties, it may not be the case, but most times they would have the leadership in Abuja. The office would be in Abuja. The party's secretariat, the national secretariat, it would be in Abuja and all of that. And then there could also be zonal level. So let's say there's a zonal level for party A, and for the Northwest zone, maybe the zonal leadership, the zonal secretariat of the office is located in, for example, Kaduna for the Northwest zone. Maybe for the Southeast zone is located in Imo State, for example. So that's talking about the zonal level, closely related to the national level. So this is the zonal level that is talking about the regions of Nigeria generally, after the main leadership and the secretariat, which must be, the party secretariat has to be in Abuja. Then after the national level, you have the state level, and the state level also has zonal levels. So the zonal level mostly that you find at the state level is divided according to senatorial zones. So you would have the state level, the state leadership and structure, of course, and then you would still have the zonal leadership. So in the state, you might have the zonal chairperson of party A for, let's say, local government, the northern constituency of local is according to senatorial zone, and it's mostly 3 senatorial zones for each state. So there will be a leadership of the party for each of those senatorial zones of that particular state. And the zonal leadership is different from the state leadership. So let me just try to walk us through that again. You have the board of trustees up there. You have the national leadership of the party, the national secretariat, which has to be in the nation's capital. You have zonal leadership that would be in the regions, the different regions of Nigeria. We have the leadership, the Southeast, let's say the chairman of the party, the Southeast region, the zonal chairman, all of that. You will have that structure as well. And then you come to the state level. You have the chairperson of the party at the state, and then you have the zonal chairpersons and other positions of the party as well at the zones of the state. And we said the zones of the state are according to senatorial district. The zones at the national level are according to the different regions of the country, northwest, northeast, south, and all of that. And then you now come down to the local government level. So at the local government level also, you have the leadership structures in place, and then you come to the ward level, you also have leadership structures in place. So what this is simply trying to tell us is that it's going from all the way up, all the way down, getting to the closest point of contact for people, where ordinary citizens have an avenue to interact with the party and have some sort of feel close to the party. So that's why it doesn't just stop at the national level or at the state level, but it goes all the way to the local government and even to the ward level as well. So I put caretaker committee on its own because it is not a permanent structure. Caretaker committees usually come up according to needs. So it could be that maybe the party has dissolved its leadership and there hasn't been an election yet to elect new leadership. So before that, a caretaker committee would be set up with a chairperson and a secretary and some other exco, and their role will be to ensure that the party continues to be run before an official election is held to have the leadership in place. So that's why, like I said, we did not include that as part of the mains, because this is ideally the major structures that you find for every political party. Caretaker committees come up according to need. So if there's a need for them, so they are not permanent structures. They are not necessarily like bound by tenure. They come up according to the needs of the party. That's when you have caretaker committee. But what we have here, the Board of Trustees, national, zonal levels, all the way to the ward level, is ideally what you would find in most cases when it comes to how the structures of political parties are. So the national level, you have the National Executive Committee, and we have put in place here some of the points. Like I said before, the points are not exhaustive, but these are some of the points that are related to the National Executive Committee. Usually consists of 12 to 15 members. It may be more depending on the party. And sometimes this National Executive Committee is referred to as the Central Working Committee. And these National Executive Committee members, they are elected at national conventions. Note that word conventions. When we get to the fourth part of the lesson, we would explain what conventions are. But just have it in mind now that the National Executive Committee members, they are usually elected at conventions. And then the National Executive Committee is headed by a chairperson. You see, so Electa tries to be as gender sensitive as we can. So we didn't say chairman, as most times you would find in many documents. We also encourage you to try to be sensitive to words, either in your conversations or in training. So it is headed by a chairperson who is referred to as the party's national chair. And so the role of the National Executive Committee, remember now we're still talking about the national level. So at the national level, we have the National Executive Committee, and their role is to manage the day-to-day running of the political party. So, and then National Executive Committee, that's like the EXCO, what people would mostly call the National EXCO. And then we now have the National Working Committee. Two different things. One is executive and one is working committee. So the numbers may differ depending on party. That's why we didn't really mention, a number to this figure. It varies from one party to the other. It consists of members of NEC, which is the National Executive Committee, and members of the party holding positions. So the National Working Committee at the national level will consist of the executive committee members, but then members of the party who are holding key positions as well, like the governors, like this, the Senate president, the speaker, etc. It depends on the party, members of their party who have key positions. So let's say, for example, we have a National Executive Committee of Party A, and Party A has a governor in 6 states. Automatically, those governors of Party A in those 6 states are members of the National Working Committee. The Senate president, for example, or the speaker, maybe who are members of Party A, are automatically members of the National Working Committee. So I just want you to be able to draw the difference. The NEC, the National Executive Committee, is strictly the members who have been elected at national conventions. They manage the day-to-day running of the political party. But the National Working Committee is bigger, it's broader. There are other persons of influence involved, and it could be they are not responsible for day-to-day running of the activity. They would come into influence, let's say when the party has, when there's a convention to be planned, when there is maybe there's a big event that the party wants to hold, then it requires these other persons of influence who are members of the party. Then the National Working Committee will come into play. So there's two different things. One is responsible for the day-to-day running of the party, and the other is for more broader rules and responsibilities that could come up. And like we have said, the number varies from one party to the other. So I hope we have been able to note those the major differences between the two. So you have the executive committee, and then you have the national working committee. This is at the national level. So at the state level, it's the same thing. You have the state executive committee, and sometimes they are also called the central working committee. They are elected at what we call national congresses. The first one, the National Executive Committee, they are elected at national conventions. And then the State Executive Committee, they are elected at what we call national congresses. And then it's also headed by a chairperson who is the president of the party's, okay, this is an error on my part, apologies for that, as the party's state chair, not national chair, the party's state chair. And then they manage the day-to-day running of the party and the activities at the state level. So this is talking about the state level. And the state also has its own state working committee. And this would consist of members of the party who are holding positions. So for example, the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, the chairpersons of the local government of the party who are members of that party, the commissioners, for example, these varying from what the provision of one party is to the other, these are the people that would form the state working committee. So the major thing to note for both at the national and at the state level is, while the executive committee, either at the state or at the national level, are involved with the day-to-day running, they have fewer number of people. It's headed by a national chair or the state chairperson. When you have the state working committee, there's more persons involved, persons of influence who are also members of the party. And these are persons that are not necessarily, they are there by virtue of the positions that they hold. They're not necessarily elected through the same process as those who are in the executive committee. So I hope that we are able to draw these distinctions as we continue to discuss this. So we've talked about the national level and the state level. Then when you come to the local government and ward level, we have only the executive committees. At the local government and ward level, we do not have state working committees, because if you look at the structure, the state level, at some point, the chairpersons of local government are already part of the state working committee. So at the local government level and at the ward level, we only have executive committees. Those are the only ones that we have. And then they are also part of those who would be elected at the Congress, during the state congresses. That is where you have the executive members of the local government and ward level. They would emerge from this process as well. So, still just trying to, talk about, just so we are sure that we are still in line with what we are explaining. Now we've gotten to the point where we've talked about the inner workings of political parties, and we've been able to talk about the structures. We have the national level, you have the board of trustees, you have the national level, and you have the zonal national leadership. You have the state level, we have the zonal state leadership as well, and then you have the local government, and then you have the ward level. And we've been able to describe how some of the structures would look like, how you have a national executive committee and how you have the national working committee, what the difference is between those two. And then the state level as well, the state working committee, and then the state executive committee, and then the local government and ward levels. And so this is the basics, because we're talking about, what would you mostly find. However, there might be one or two changes depending on, the structure of one political party to the other. And like we mentioned in the beginning, political parties also have their own constitution, and in their constitution, they have all of these guidelines stated. They have, how their structures would be and all of these things stated here. So there might be a few changes depending on from one political party to the other. So now let's talk about how you go about, from expressing your interest to becoming a party. Yes.
I'm so sorry.
I know we are sticking to time. We're just wondering if we could quickly jump into the panel session, and then
Okay.
we'll take, yes, this bit much later, if that's okay with you. Yes, thank you.
Sure, that's fine. So we'll just quickly go into the panel session, and then when we're done from the panel session, we would come back to discuss the other points that we have not gotten into yet, and that's where we talk about, you know, understanding the process and all of this other information that we have. So basically, what this panel will do for us is try to, you know, give us a practical feature of some of these things that we have already discussed. And possibly it will also help us explain some of the things that we haven't discussed yet. So when we come back to discussing the slides, you will see that you will find it easier to understand some of these things, because our panelists would have mentioned some of this in the course of our discussion. So Morenike, would you introduce the panelists before we go? And I guess I need to stop sharing my screen at this point, right? Or do I just leave it?
You can leave it for now. So thank you very much, Amina. So we're jumping right into the panel session, as Amina has stated. We're welcoming our panelists right now. So we're so happy to kind of incorporate this into our training, to kind of give you an overview of what it means to deep dive into political parties. And was more than happy to introduce our panelists at this point. We have someone who has run for office before. We have people who have set up a political party, and also we already have someone that is currently a member of the Ninth Assembly. So that kind of gives you an idea of the kind of people we have and the kind of experiences and nuggets you'll be getting at the end of the panel session. So it's my pleasure to welcome all panelists. Starting from Mrs. Okikiola Jalupon. She's the founder of the Okikiola Foundation, and in 2019, she ran for office in 2019, and she was also one of the youngest females or youngest people to run for office in Nigeria. Secondly, we have Mr. Barrister Wale Iroko, apologies for that. He is a lawyer and also a notary publicist with all 14 years of experience, and also the co-founder and managing partner of Probius Partners. He's also the National Policy and Strategy Secretary of the Youth Party. And thirdly, we have Honorable Shino Pella. He's currently a member of the Ninth Assembly, representing Iseyin Oyo State. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. If you can hear, yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Honorable. So we'll be jumping right into it, and the questions, we'll keep it short. Please, if you have any comments, please drop your comments in the comment section, in the Q&A section while the panelists are speaking, and we will take the questions, as I said, at the end of the panel session. So we're going to start with you, Mrs. Okikiola, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good to hear you, good to hear you. So we just want you to take us through the process of when you became interested in running for office, and we'd just like to understand what the party political registration is like and what's like for you, how you're able to express your interest in running, and in an overview of how the party system works in your opinion.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Can you hear me clearly? So we just want to get your experience and your feel as to when you expressed your interest to run for office and your own understanding of what the party system is like in Nigeria, just running as a female, as a young female candidate.
Okay, first off, my interest to run started late 2017 at a party where we were talking about how the system has been and how it doesn't favor a lot of people, what we can do to make it better. And as at then, we were all talking about how elections are coming soon, how people need to run, young people need to run. And I was just talking to my uncle and he said, why don't you join the African Action Congress Party? And I told him I'll have to sit read their manifestos, see how it aligns with my ideology about Nigeria, what I want to do, if it relates to my kind of solutions for the country and my constituency at large. So afterwards, decided to run, went to the party office, stated my interest. They gave me the card, the form, fill. They also asked what I wanted to do, my position in my constituency, what I've been doing beforehand, what I hope to do, what I'm doing now, and also if I'm certain of my other contenders. So these were the things that I did like during that time. Also, running for office, I had about 5 people who were running against the same position under my party, and they were all males, and I was the only female. So coming out as the flag bearer of the party was another uh, win for me, because I didn't expect to. I just had a lot of conversations with people around, people who were already in the party, and what I felt I was bringing to the table. And then they shared their ideas too, and we were able to have conversations and solutions at the same time. And when we were having the primaries, I won and I became the flag bearer for the State House of Assembly for the party. Also, running as a young female was another win for me. I wouldn't call it a disadvantage because I faced a lot of criticism and a lot of you can't do it because you're female. But because I already had the intention that, okay, I know that this is a field that would not favor me, but I am going to, regardless, wear that tough skin. Some people, having that some people can support you is something that can actually keep you going. So I just tried to ignore every negative energy that came from people who thought I was either too young to run. Sorry for that.
Yes.
I was either too young to run or too female to be in that position. And from campaigning to meeting with stakeholders in my constituency, to meeting with stakeholders in the party, from registration, we had meetings with INEC where we had to fill the whole documentation, birth certificates, schools, and everything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a wonderful experience. At the same time, you see that when you decide to run sometimes, you don't see how bad it can get when you get outside, because you think that you're trying to maybe better the country, better the constituency, and then you find that so many people that you're trying to do that much good for are telling you that you're not the type of person that they want, not because of your manifesto or because of what you have, the kind of conversations you have had, but because you are female or because you are young.
Okay.
Some people go to the extent of seeing that being young as, oh, are you married? If you are not married, I can be your partner. And then when you get into office, you can do these things together. You understand? And doing these things together is not necessarily to help you, it's to chop the money. Do you get it? So that's another field I face. Some will tell you that when you get into office now, you share everything for your family members. You go and bring one boy from the village that did not do anything for you. Some will tell you when you get there, you forget us because you are young. You link up with other politicians, and then you bring rice, bring drink, bring this, bring that. So many things that I face being out there. But I had a lot of people also support me in the sense of motivation. If my dad will always say, if you know that you're not going to do this thing, don't start it at all. If you know that you're going to do it, give it your all. And that was what I applied there for every part of the campaign and the election.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Okikiola. And I think you mentioned one critical thing. We tend, as candidates, sometimes not to pretty much calculate exactly, the challenges that we'll face once we start running or indicate our interest in running for office. Over to you, Honorable Shino Pella. We know she had discussed that. So for you, what are the common mistakes aspirants tend to make when engaging in political parties? Do you think, as she had kindly pointed out, people don't tend to calculate in full what the challenges may be or the ramifications of running for office may be as well?
I'm sorry, what's the question again? Can I just have it again?
I was just trying to find out what, in your opinion, the common mistakes aspirants tend to make when engaging with political parties.
Mistakes varies, and but one I think that it is very critical is we must first of all understand the scope, of work, that you want to cover with the political party. I will advise, there are two major political parties, and I think that it is almost impossible for you to win a presidential election without any of the major political parties. These are just facts, that I think that we should understand. And but yes, if you are running for an office like a House of Assembly, if you are running for an office of a local government chairman, and let's say possibly maybe House of Reps, because most of all these the House of Reps constituencies varies from one local government to 4 local government. I represent 4 local governments. It's saying it is Iwaju, Kajola, and Iwajowa. And I still believe, and for me, this 4 local government has 42 wards. Okay. So it's a lot of work. And that is why it is always advisable, when you want to join, it is, I'll say the risk is higher when you join a new political party. So that is one thing that is important, because a lot of people will look at you and just feel like in Nigeria of today, you can win an election, i.e. presidential election, with a new political party. When you have party that has been there, for at least about 3 decades. And because, Nigeria is a diverse country, because we have about 774 local governments. And for you to have structures in all these local governments to cut across, all these local governments, I think you need to be able to understand, which political party you want to run on first. So that's why I think that, the problem will vary. And also on the structure, how the political party works. It is very important for us to understand that it is better to work from bottom up, try without, you cannot discuss your local government as a whole when you have not, talked about all the wards, in the local government. So this is how I have attended to the structure of my political campaign. We take it from the ward level, to the local government level. So that's why I said it varies. If you're somebody that you're contesting for a local government chairman, yes, a new political party, is more bad, because the size, of the kind of work that you're going to do can compare to when you are actually contesting for maybe a House of Rep or House of Assembly. Mm-hmm. So I think this is something that people need to take into consideration.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Honorable. And you mentioned something along the lines of campaign, and we just want to hear from you, Barrister Irokosu. When we're talking about campaign, to what extent do political parties support candidates in this regard, particularly for women looking to run for office, ahead of 2023? How do you manage the expectations and understand the reality of things? Barrister Irokosu.
Okay, thank you very much, Morenike, for having me. My name is simply Wale. I'm not a barrister. I just happen to be a lawyer. Thank you. As far as political parties are concerned, they are meant to provide a system for proper primaries, because as simple as it is, no matter how well you've campaigned, if your party is not following INEC guidelines, that put you at a disadvantage. For example, if they don't submit your form on time, like you can see in Zamfara, APC was on ground, but it ended up in PDP's hand because APC just didn't put their house in order. So that's the first thing a political party has to do. You have to follow INEC guidelines so that you don't play into the hands of the other people. It might be the most popular, but you are disqualified for whatever reasons.
Okay.
And typically, you are meant to submit the list of your delegates or the people qualified to vote at the primaries. Your party guidelines has to be submitted to INEC beforehand. The people conducting the primaries, you must show that you've invited INEC for the primaries, even if INEC decides not to come. Whoever won the primaries as well, you need to have submitted his name beforehand. So that's the work of the party, nothing to do with the candidate, to be quite frank. In terms of what the party does for the candidate afterwards, of course, with the bigger parties, they sell forms to a lot of people and their forms are quite expensive. So they typically raise a lot of money in between. So what they should do, which is not what they always do, is to support you with above the line media, be it billboards, TV, radio, so that you can focus at the micro level, your door to door, fuel in your car and things like that. So the party can also do very well plugging you into their funding network, into the party base, giving you the party membership database. Also, most party or all parties will have the voters register, the database, the software and everything. INEC could give them, because those are the people you are meant to pitch to. And your party will do well to give you access to those sort of things to assist you. Also, the party has an economies of scale in dealing with a lot of things. You understand, on security issues, on relationship with INEC. If every candidate has to be, going to INEC to pick form on their own, protection from thugs and everything, you need police. Then the party also have a database of experts that they can plug into. Also, the party is the one allowed by INEC to submit the names of polling agents. So if the party doesn't want to support you, they can submit the names of polling agents that are not your people. I'll just refuse to come on that day or go and take money from the other side, sadly. So without the party on your side, you are going to have a big, big, big problem. So that's as far as what I think the party can do. So there's the money, there's the knowledge base, there's ensuring that they fulfill pre-election procedures with INEC so that you can have a smooth sail and can concentrate on what you need to do to win an election. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Wale. Just before I move on to Ms. Okikiola, you raised a vital point as to getting your party to support you. So as a young woman aspiring to run for office come 2023, how do they get that party support? How are they able to rally people within the party structures to kind of support them? You listed submitting the expression of interest, getting INEC to come in for party primaries. So how, as a young woman ready to run in 2023, how do you garner that kind of support within the party system structure?
First of all, I apologize for being gender neutral. I know this is a elector. So I think, first of all, as a party, most parties, including our party, we try to encourage the female folk by, for example, allowing them to pay less than the male folks pay, just to encourage them to join. We don't have, for example, a male leader, but we have a female leader because we need, this gender needs to be encouraged and ensure that they're on the table. Something about politics, people will always tell you it's all about money. Money is about 20 or 30% of the problem. The main problem is heavy lifting. People that are politicians here will tell you that they hardly sleep. You have to pick everybody's call. Whether you are male, whether you are female, you can't do the heavy lifting. You understand? That heavy lifting means typically you arrange yourself according to the polling unit so that you cascade your structure to the smallest voting unit. Typically a ward might have up to 50 or 70 polling units. Ideally, you should have about 5 or 10 people in each polling unit. You'd have a polling agent, you have canvassers, because there's one thing for you to convince people to vote for you. It's another thing for you to get them out, because some people on the day of the election, they are too tired, they have a headache. Some people just don't feel like, they're just not in the mood. So you need people to go and knock on doors and say, today how far now? You said you will vote for me. Please come. I'm tired, okay, don't worry, I will escort you, let's go together. It's another thing to also protect your vote.
Okay.
After the election, you stay around, encourage INEC officials, if there's no fan, fan them with newspapers, when they are going to INEC Collation Center, give them human security protection, I'm not suggesting bribing, you have water for your supporters waiting around, Coke, if the INEC official too want to drink Coke, police officer as well. So you have to protect your vote and if possible have an infrastructure. I'm not going to name names, but there are some people that are rated as election technocrats. If an election happens at 10 o'clock, they will have the result by 11. How you get that system, I'll leave it to you. And I know some parties, the following day after election, I'm doing election petition for them. They are saying they've robbed their. I said, where are your results? Even result that is not a neck result, you don't have. You understand? So how well have you tried to protect your vote? After the electorates vote for you, they've done their bit. So for the female folk, sadly, you have to do 10 times what the male folks will do. Don't expect anybody to be generous to you. You have to do more. Politics is a very, very jealous profession or vocation. Takes a lot of time. Someone will come to you, they want to come and discuss something that is none of your business, admission of their children in primary school. Even if you cannot help them, you just have to listen, listen and tell them, if you can help, you help. But it's very, very, very time consuming. And there's no other way around it.
I can imagine, yes.
You can imagine if, for example, I see you every other day when you come to my house, even though I don't give you money. I escort you to the gate. I tell you I don't have money, check me back next week. We're conversing. And during election, you're already working for my campaign. And all of a sudden, a female candidate comes up 2 or 3 weeks or 2 months before election with a lot of money and everything. I mean, there's a human element of, Wale has been around me for a very long time. So, and there's no substitute for that. You have to connect, you have to empathize, you have to listen, and there's no other way.
Thank you so much for that, Wale. So you made a vital point about women having to do 10 times more than men. But that's the sad reality. But I know more women, particularly on this call, and women, sticking for elective office have the capacity to do just more than that. So in terms of that, Ms. Jalukon, Ukikiola Jalukon, would you describe your experience when you joined your political party and in terms of campaigning? What were the key lessons you learned in terms of people joining political parties much earlier and just putting in the work to get their votes sorted? Can you?
Okay, I joined a new party before running, and it was double the work because we now had to start campaigning for myself. So it was, we also had to start putting people together so we can have ward meetings. We can now have state meetings, the rest, like for people all over Lagos under the party, for us to start having all those meetings. So it was double work, because if I had maybe campaign under a major party, it would have been easier. What I would have just been selling is myself and the party that already has a structure. But now there's a question coming up in
Oh,
my,
you can go ahead, would answer the questions as
oh, okay. All
yes.
right. So um, there were a lot of work that we had to do. I had to start putting people together, start giving them delegations. You can be the ward leader for this so area. We had to start going to every street,
Okay.
every polling unit to talk to them. By then, we are also looking for somebody, one or two persons who are willing to join the party. From there, we make them the leader of that area, or that polling unit. So also I had to use like the front of my house for most of the meetings. From there, when we are trying to reach out to other wards, knowing that I was running for House of Assembly, we had to reach out to all the wards. So we have to meet people from some wards and beg them, can we use your space? Some would insist that you must pay for that space. They don't trust any politician. If you come here now, you are not going to come back again. So for some, we had to do a bargain that, okay, we'll use this space for uh, our meetings, and then we'll pay you this so amount. Some people will rather ask for food, that whatever it is that you're sharing in that meeting must get to them. So that was another one. And I can say that uh, there was too much work on me because I was not getting the exact support I should get from up above. You know the kind of structure that comes with a guideline on how, or a blueprint on how to run your campaign, or how to relate it to yourself to run your campaign. That wasn't there. So I had to create a blueprint myself. How do I reach out to these people in my constituency? How do I relate to their reality so that they believe in me enough to come for meetings and to partake in my campaign? So I feel like it's going to be a different ground if it was in a major party, but it also gave me double the lessons of how to even build. If I was to build up my own party, I already got like everything from there. So that was a good part of that. Also, another thing is one has to be very fierce. There are situations where you'll be calm, and there are situations where you have to be very fierce. Just like what Wale was saying, when he was saying you have to have late nights and this, that is up till now, it is very true. I still answer calls of somebody that the wife just gave birth and they need to do the naming ceremony. It's not like they want you there, they just want you to do something, just send some money. We have situations where during my campaign I had to be outside as early as 1 a.m. with my other people who were working with me. We had to be pasting posters. When they are tired, we recruit another group who are, pasting posters. And that is one work that they say a female cannot do, but that is what I have proved that is possible. So I've also had situations where people come and attack us that this party that you are, campaigning for, this street, this is not the type of party that we are up for. At some point, we had somebody bring a bottle. This child, they brought bottles. They were threatening us. This street is not for us. We should go. And I just told them, Baba, if we should calm down, it is not fight. People are my elder brother. Campaign. I'm only selling myself. And then if you don't help me, there's nobody that will help me. Instead of trying to like attack them back, I just try to see if we can actually talk and find a resolution in between that. And they're like, oh no, that they would have even talked to me very well. I'm their younger sister. They started tapping me on my shoulder. That it was because of the way other people came to meet them, like they're talking rubbish. I'm like, you're not talking rubbish. So since you have decided to support this party over the years, I do agree. But allow me just go down the street and back, and I would not do anything. Afterwards, I'll come and sit with you people, and then we'll drink beer together. Even if I don't drink beer, it's just what I've said. And they're like, okay, but I should not pass that second street, so there's another gang there. So I should just go down the street and come back. So that was a resolution we were able to find. From there, one of them even followed us to the next street so that we can walk down that line.
Okay, so it's so I think we've lost her there. So I think it was quite important, being able to galvanize that support. For you, Honorable Chinopela, you were able to win your become the party flag bearer. Your opinion, what are the critical steps we should take in terms of getting to that positions within our party structure?
We need to first of all understand that every nomination comes from the word. And like a lot of people believe that the political party, and most importantly, the major political party, that they do not give you an opportunity. And I always tell them this is not right, and it depends on their approach. Politics, elections are won by the majority. And what I know that I have done and worked for me is my political mobilizing. You need to be spot on your political mobilizing. You must be able to have the strength to mobilize people. And averagely, I don't think I've attended any ward meeting that has more than 200 people. So which means, as someone that wants to run for an office, you need to be able to convince yourself first, because what kind of politics are you doing? Politics of purpose. If you understand the purpose of your politics, why you're going into politics, that will give you the kind of drive that you need to be able to drive right from your unit to the to the word. Sorry, excuse me. Let me just put out. Excuse me, please.
So while we wait for Honorable, okay, he's back. We just. Sorry, Honorable, you need to unmute your mic so we can hear you clearly.
Okay, sorry, I'm back on there. Okay, so I think we're just going to pardon me and disregard the background of noise. So what you need to do from the polling unit and from your ward, when you want to join a political party, try as much as possible to have your presence, from the ward. Like for me, I have people that I'm encouraging now from my local government. There's a particular person that caught my attention. One day we were meant to have a meeting at the ward, and the secretary was not around. And I called the guy and I said, "Oh, come and be the secretary for this meeting." And the next meeting where we'll be meeting, I noticed that this guy wrote everything that we talked about in that meeting. Even at the point that some people sing, he will put it in the meeting. So that already gave me, I could see the strength, of this person. Yeah. So I always say to people that let your strength be known. It is not money. Some people might have money and say, oh, they know him, that if they want to do anything, they always put money on ground. Some people are selfless. People say them that, oh, if you want to do anything in this world, oh, this is the person that, it will go out of their way, for you and everything, that's another thing. So if you put this into consideration, and when you're joining a political party, you have that drive from your ward level. I told a friend of mine that wanted to join politics, and I told him, oh, go and join APC. But when you want to join APC, let your the day that you want to join from your ward, drive, bring people on. And we have a platform called the Lead Generation. This person was able to share, his aspiration, with other members of Lead Generation in that area and with his other people. So the day that he went to the ward with an average of 75 people. That already has made him almost a majority from his ward. You understand? So, and every nomination will come from your ward, So And the way they do this as well, because there's what is called structuring in politics and zoning. So the zoning, there is I think it might not be possible for a ward to nominate more than one person for a political office. People do come out, they can tell you, but by the time they want to start to get the party candidacy, the party will let you know that when they take a governor, for example, from a particular zone, then they have to take a deputy from another zone. That's why you see that sometimes when they take a governor that is of one religion, they try to get a deputy that is of another religion. And also same thing applies to the remaining political offices, like maybe the Senate. So when they take a Senate, for example, let me just use Oyo State as a case study. So if you have a governor that is coming from Oyo State and you take it from Ibadan, automatically, if you have somebody that wants to contest from that same particular zone or particular local government that you choose that governor from, it might not fly. You understand? So you need to put that into consideration as well. So that's why I say every nomination comes from the ward. So if you are very strong from your ward level and you can, prove, to them at the ward level what you are capable of doing, and you prove to the people that you are ready to put their interests before yours. And that is what actually a good politician should be. A good politician should be somebody that is ready to put people's interest before their interest. It is just sad that today we have more of the bad politicians than to good politicians. Like, for example, when I joined politics, I joined politics because I wanted to liberate my people. So that is the purpose first. You must ask yourself that question. Why do you want to join politics? Because there's nothing that says that I cannot contest from Lagos. But I noticed that the area that I come from, a 10 local government area, has been marginalized. I noticed that the area that I come from has a lot of potentials that even people are not seeing. We occupy the largest landmass area in Oyo State. Our land is agrarian, and also the area has not be given the kind of attention that is meant to be given in governance. In politics, during campaign, yes, it is more of the area where people expect votes from. But when they get into office, they get neglected. So when I wanted to contest, I went back home and I said, yeah, this is what I want to do for my people. So, and I had to put their interest first. And when I say politics of purpose, in Nigeria of today, we can see that our, the present people that we have in government, they are the older generation. And when the older generations that are not even aware of, the new technologies or what we need to use, the younger generations are the ones that have, this. I now begin to see that all these policies that we're operating on and laws that we're operating on are made by the older generation. And the gap between the older generations and the younger generations are so wide. They are the ones that will make the policies. We are the ones that will weather the effect of that policy. Understand? So these are the things that made me to say, yeah, I want to go into politics. So I'm coming to go into politics at that time. I joined politics when I believe that there must be a level playing ground to have a new person. At that time in 2019, and I want to tell you, this is one of the main reasons that made me to join, to join APC over PDP. When I joined APC, I looked at the people that are contesting. Yeah, President Muhammadu Buhari, he was a military president at the time. He became a civilian president. And also, even Atiku Abubakar, who was the PDP candidate, was a vice president for 8 years. He still wants to become a president. So I was looking at it even before that time. Obasanjo was the president during military regime. He became the civilian president. So my question is, when are we going to have a paradigm shift? Yeah. So going into politics was a purpose for me. So I looked at President Buhari that has already completed the first term, and like they say we are lazy Nigerian youth, innit? And if we are lazy Nigerian youth, we want to show that we are not lazy. For us to say we are not lazy, then we have to plan. We have to have a structure. So I looked at when I joined in 2019, if I had supported the other political party, and I had more opportunity to run under the other political party in my state, because the chairman of the other political party is actually is my stepfather. Alhaji Kumi Mustafa, who is the chairman of PDP at that time. And he thought that, oh, anybody could have come here because my dad is the chairman, I should be able to use that influence. But I was not saying that. I was saying a 2023 that can give a level playing ground for us to achieve a paradigm shift. And I looked at a presidential candidate that has already completed his first term. And if given an opportunity to win that election, by 2023, we have a level playing ground. And it is so important for us to understand that going into an election with an incumbent, especially when he's a president, he controls security, both military, army, police, navy, even he controls the INEC, because this is the person that appoints the INEC chairman. So it is too risky if you want to go ahead on with such people. So you believe that why not, wait till when you have, a level, playing ground. And this is one of the pointers that I used when I was joining politics. And I was not looking at, oh, it is better for me to join PDP because, wow, I have a political godfather there because of my, of my stepfather, who is the state chairman, for the party. But I was looking at the possibilities of achieving the purpose of why I joined politics. So that's why I would say that it is always better to know the purpose why you're joining politics. So it's called politics of purpose.
Thank you so much for that, Honorable. I'm sure everyone here took some notes. So not to waste much of our time, we'll go straight now into the question and answer section. I know we've already passed out of time. And I know many of us here as well want to have a politics of purpose where there will be paradigm shift, given that there are many young women now willing to run for office. And so I'm just going to open up the lines. Please, if you have a question, please indicate. Keep your questions very short and simple. And if there's any of the panelists you want to address, give you an answer or a response, please indicate as well. So please start off with saying your name, and then go straight to your question. So we'll keep it very short and simple, given the time frame. So just indicate and I'll unmute you. Okay, so we have Grace, I think. Grace, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, so my question is in the question and answer session, but I'm just going to read it out. To Honorable Sheila, thank you for the insight. If I win an election and want to serve with integrity, how do I juxtapose honesty with sorting of political leaders? Because we see how cars and money is meant for constituency projects are partly diverted to pay these people. And I want to be an ethical leader. I want to be an ethical political leader. How do I go about this? Thank you.
What's the best way to go about it is, I think you should create like a criteria for you to elect who your leader is. Like, for example, let's look at selecting or electing who the next president of Nigeria will be. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday, and the person walked up to me and said, who am I supporting for presidency? And I said to the person that I do not have a candidate yet. And truly, I do not have a candidate yet. And the reason is I believe that we need to set criteria out first before we look at people that meet that criteria. Are we talking about the person? Do we want to use the age? Do we want to put into the success story of the person? Is this somebody that was made before politics or somebody that was made during politics? Is it somebody that is from the South? Because, we believe that, the next president, the next president should come from the South. If you are part of the people that believe, in that. Or is the person must be a Christian or a Muslim? Possibly maybe because, for example, you can look at this present administration that we're using. We have 3 arms of government. We have the legislature, we have the executive, and we have the judiciary. The judiciary today, Tanko is a Muslim. The executive today, President Muhammadu Buhari is a Muslim. The legislature, the Senate is a Muslim. The House of Rep, Femi Gbajabiamila is a Muslim. So are you thinking of, is it time to, bring, a Christian, so what I like for me, what I do is I set out my criteria. And after setting out my criteria, then I, try to look at who fit into that criteria. So I think that's the best way.
Thank you so much for that. Grace, I hope your question has been answered. So I'll just read out a question quickly, and this is from Busha Balogun, and this is for Honorable Kikiola. She says, in all, how were you able to fund your campaign? We know that money is very crucial resource needed for campaigning, and you also mentioned instances where money were involved. So if you could just take us through how you're able to effectively and successfully fund your campaign, Honorable Kikiola.
Okay. First thing I did was to analyze I had to analyze the things I cannot get away with and the things I had to pay for. That was the first thing I did. And afterwards, I also looked at in what ways can I raise funds. So I started with Facebook. I did videos every day, informing people about my progress in campaigns, asking people that, oh, I have this idea about this campaign to raise awareness for this social topic and what's their view on it. Afterwards, we talk about how to raise funds for it. So most of my funds came from diaspora, sincerely. I had a lot of people who I have never met up till now who funded my campaign. Also, it's important that you have something doing before you run for office. It's either you're an entrepreneur, you work for a job, your personal income will surely go into that field. So I also looked at one way I could also multiply my revenue in my business so that I can also find a way to take some out so that I don't juice out the money from there and also run my business out. So I tried looking for ways to multiply my revenue and use part of that to also, fund the campaign. I also spoke to a lot of people. If you tell me that you believe in me, yes, thank you so much. You might not give me money, but can you give me polos? Can you give me biros? Can you give me face caps? Can you do this banner for me for free? Can you help me talk to this person to give me this area? Can you help me secure this place? Is most of the time when you ask people for money, they might not be able to give it to you. So first thing I ask is, this is what I want to do. In what ways can you help me that are not necessarily monetary? And if you say, oh, I don't have access to this, I don't have access to this. Oh, I have somebody, please, can you fund this for me so that I go and meet this person and I can actualize this campaign? So that was how I was able to fund my campaign. I had a lot of live sessions that we had account number on the screen where people were sending money from their 1,000 naira to their 2,000 naira. Some people even sent to 200 naira. And I saw it as a big deal because you see 200 naira can multiply to 1,000 and it can change something for you. So that was how I was able to fund my campaign. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Given the limited time you have, we'll be taking just 2 more questions, then each panelist will have their final word, so we can move quickly. So I'm going to be unmuting you, Sarewa Rahman. Please keep it short and simple. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for all the presentations that have been made. My question goes to everyone. I had tried out trying to come in from the ward level and all of that, and I found that it's something that the political sphere in Nigeria is particularly vague. It's almost as though they make it so vague on purpose so that people cannot actually participate in the process. So I go to a ward meeting, I go to the ward level, I finally was able, that's in Lagos. I now went to Abuja to go to the headquarters, and I cannot get my hands on the constitution of the party, can't get my hands on the manifesto. Instead, I'm being asked to part ways with a lot of money. People are asking me, what do I want it for? These are, even simple information like how many people are within the ward, how many wards do we have, how many polling stations do we have. That sort of information, that kind of outlay is not available to people readily. Now, I was hoping that Electa would be able to provide this sort of information or gather this sort of information, because it helps us to plan, or at least to plot what it is we want to do. If we leave it up to the parties and we're saying that, that we have to go back to the parties to get it, what happens is that a lot of us are pushed back if we don't have links in those parties or familial relationships or whatever, godfathers as the case may be within the parties. If I don't know anybody in the working committee or whatever, I can't get that sort of information. So I would really like some help with understanding where one can get this sort of material. It's just too difficult to get these things, and it doesn't really make sense. Thank you.
Wale, do you want to take that?
Okay.
You're muted. Can you mute your mic, please?
Okay. Yes, I totally agree with that. I think I've been directed not to speak about our own party, but I share frustration, and I'll just share an experience I had. I remember 2001, I wanted to join ACN, and the party chairman in my local government was someone that really liked me. I went to the party office and everybody was at the reception. There was no registration, there's no membership card. And he said, my son, I know you will vote for whoever I want you to vote for, so here is your card. So that's how I left.
That's hilarious.
Yes, some of the parties are actually closed parties. The party register is very, very important for the control of the party. When I say closed party, there's no open entry and, maybe the exit is open, but the party register is very, very key. It's like, when you have a company and you dilute a shareholder. So every new member that comes in, you are diluting the party hierarchy. So they are not very excited about new people coming in and also sharing a lot of information and letting you know where to find the people. But having said that, apart from winning offices, I think the procedures leading, and I share what Honorable Pella said, apart from winning elections, you have to try and change the process as well in all those parties. This issue that you raise, you need to escalate it. You can go on an activism within the party, be it PDP or APC, and say, look, this is not just on. And you find out that many people probably feel the same way you feel, and they will support you. I don't feel party politics is a 4-year thing. I don't think it's an event. I think it's even beyond running for public offices or capturing offices. I think it's about changing the electoral landscape, the electoral process, the procedure, coming up with policies to better the lot of the country, being an effective opposition to the powers that be, either within your party or outside your party. So it's not just about election. And as long as you are not doing that, you want to be a good boy or good girl, you understand, they won't release that register. I won't tell you, they won't release it. They won't release it. You have to fight to collect it live. They won't release it.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
2 more questions. Please keep your questions short. Fumi, you have the floor now.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the session. It's been very informative. This question is to Honorable Pella, please. Being a current member in the House of Rep, would you please be able to advise us on the state of the electoral law amendment, especially with regards to the 35% affirmative, gender affirmative? And it's a pleasure seeing you here. Permit me, House. I'm also a formal advocate. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Laduka, formal Laduka. Yeah. The electoral reform is still on. And definitely part of the inputs in the reform is the inclusion of the 35%, for the women. And regardless whether it's being passed or not, because for me, I always hope for the best, even if it's always good to prepare for the worst. I am not actually in the position, because the House needs, I'm just one of the 360 members of the House of Representatives. And that has to go through Senate as well. But I know that the electoral reform is on, and definitely, it will be passed into law before 2023, because it's actually one of the things that we need to prepare ourselves. But most importantly, like I'll say, what we need to understand as a people is ourselves. We need to understand that the present style of governance that we practice is democracy. And like they say, democracy, is a government of the people, is made by the people and for the people, which means it does not restrict you and I, whether you are a female or you are a male, to contest. And when you want to contest, try as much as possible to be the majority so that things can go your way. And if you are not the majority, you're on the minority side, try as much as possible to have a way that you can communicate, because the minority definitely will be given an opportunity to speak. They need to give the opportunity, to even the minority, when the majority wins, to hear the minority out. And this is one thing that I want us to look at. I don't want to say yes because you think that the 35% would not be passed into law, then the female should relax. Or I'm not going to say, it's going to be passed into law, and that is when we are going to start, the work. There's nothing that stops anyone, from contesting, because we practice a system of government that does not restrict you and I, to run for offices. What I just think that we should do as young people, and what I think that we should do, even you should do as female, is to find a way where we can be the majority in the system. We should understand the importance of strategic positioning in terms of what is actually our problem. Like for me, a lot of people, I have what we're doing with an initiative called the Lead Generation Initiative. I don't know if you've heard about Lead Generation Initiative. Lead Generation Initiative is a leadership initiative program that is focused at developing a new generation of leaders. And what we're doing, and there's a particular program under Lead Generation that supports and give opportunity, for women. I already have women within Lead Generation Initiative that we are beginning to look at for them as prospective candidates, for political parties. It is not a political party. Lead Generation is a non-political organization. It is non-partisan. It is an NGO, but focused at addressing our leadership issues in Nigeria, because I believe that that is our problem. So, and what we're doing at Lead Generation, you can join Lead Generation. I will drop out the website. The website is www.leadgenerationg.org. I think someone already pasted it, there. So once you join Lead Generation, you are a member of Lead Generation, you have your Lead Generation LGI number. You can just key in, onto that platform where, we all can be able to come together and speak, in one voice. But as it is, we need to understand that majority, we should try as much as possible to get our side on the side of the majority, get ourselves on the side of the majority at all times. And we should not think that, yes, because your ideology can be of a minority too, because it's either you are in the majority or you go on majority. Lead Generation is not under APC. We have different people, I'm just trying to address to the questions as they pop up as well, because I could see someone that says, is he under APC? Like I said, Lead Generation is a non-partisan organization. It is a non-political organization. But we are focused at developing a new generation of leaders. A lot of people talk about the leadership of Nigeria today. Oh, our problem is the leadership. Our problem is maybe the governor, or our problem is the president. But we are not the kind of president that we want, even from our own, from the comfort of our homes. You need to become the kind of leader that you seek right from your compound. You need to become the kind of leader that you seek right from your unit, from your polling unit, to the ward. You need to know who your councillors are before you start talking about who your assembly wants, who your state assembly will be. You need to know who your state of assembly is before you start talking about who your House of Reps are. You need to know who your senators are before you talk about who the governors are. Because I noticed that people will use just one interest of who the next president is going to be to affect the whole structure that you are building. That is why today, if you ask me, who is Shina Pella supporting for president, I do not have. And I'm telling you, even as I am in APC, definitely I'm going to support a party member from APC, whoever that the party chooses. But for me, I will work with other party members to elect who that I believe that the party should choose, and put it into consideration, the criteria, like I've said before. Who do we want to go for? What sort of leader we want to go for? And that will be what will drive us. So Lead Generation does not have anything to do, it does not have any affiliation with APC. It is non-partisan, it is non-political organization. But under Lead Generation, we do a lot of training. We have this Get Involved leadership training. I don't know whether if you follow us, you can see that we've been going from one stage to another. And what we do when we go to states is we bring like minds together, and we make sure that at least we have a structure that cuts across all the local government areas in the state. So we do a train the trainer program, where we train at least a minimum of 2 people in each of the local government, and we allow them to go back to their various local governments, set up the same structure, have their own ward representative under them, and pass that same training that they've received for the 2 days that we've been in the state to the remaining structure in their downline. And once we have done that, we see that we already have presence in all the 8,809 wards that we have in Nigeria. You will see that we will build a structure that will cut across the 774 local governments, and also build a structure that cuts across the 36 states and the 2 and FCT. And once we have done that, we can now have some sort of chain, a hierarchy that can pass information right from the top and trickle down, and take information from down and back up. If I've answered the question correctly.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Honorable. And just as you said, similar to what Elected does as a non-partisan organization, but we understand that we can't work in silos. We need to work in an ecosystem, working in hand with other organizations to ensure women win elective offices in Nigeria. So we're going to take one last question from the Q&A section, and anybody is open to answer this. It says, what is the role of political sponsors, and how do you secure sponsorship without compromising your values? I don't know if Honorable Kikiola wants to take that. How do you keep your values in check, and how do you protect sort of what you believe in?
Can you read that question again? Sorry.
Okay, so it says, what is the role of political sponsors, and how do you secure sponsorship without compromising your values?
Okay, I'll try to talk about godfatherism. And godfatherism has been displayed to be Baba at the top, or Baba Sope, but that is not necessarily what godfatherism is. You can have a godfather or even a godmother that guides you on how to retain value while you're trying to pitch yourself to get what you want. So how do you retain your values? It has to be a self-determination that you would not compromise yourself in the name of getting to that position by all means. And that is why, as Wale said, you have to know that if I'm going into these things, I'm going to pitch myself you understand, I'm going to pitch myself without compromising the values that I already have. It's also why it is important that you join a party that can relate to the ideology that you are already trying to sell. So it's not like you join a party that has a completely different ideology because it's open, and then when you join it, you are trying to keep your values. They wouldn't do that because there's something that they are following already. So if you have if the guidelines of the party already follows your values, it's very easy for you to sort of blend in. And if you see that in situations they are asking or demanding for things that you cannot provide, it is important that you state it at that point therein. Don't go and think about it and come back. Say that these are the things that I've hoped for the party and we can achieve through this party. But getting to know this information now, it doesn't blend well with me. In every political meeting, 100% do not agree. Some people disagree to agree. Some people disagree completely. Some people are just there. Whatever it is that they bring to them, they take it. So you have to keep it up that when the values that are brought into this party is not what they are pitching to me, please make your idea known. There's, as they say, there's sense in nonsense. So if you don't say anything, it is assumed that you are fine with it. So when you are able to voice out that, okay, this is what I think about this proposal that you have brought, it brings up another discussion or strikes another conversation between the gathering that you are in already. Some people don't even know whoever is talking, what it means until you have raised your concern. And then from there, you start seeing questions that rise up and then get answer. And from there, you can even get to keep your values in check and also provide a solution to the guideline to the proposal that they have brought, maybe at the meeting or at the convention or something of sort. Thank you.
That's very important, being a solution provider. So at this point, I'm so sorry we can't take more questions, but please drop your comments and your questions in the Q&A box, and maybe we'll get the panelists to be able to answer those questions much later and send you a response. So just final words from all of our panelists. It has been an amazing experience. So can we have your take, Wale, if you're still here with us, as to what your advice for women running for 2023, for elections in 2023 should be, if you can hear me. Okay, so I don't think he's here. So we'll just have Honorable Kukiola, just your final parting words. What's your first three advice or top priority areas women should?
So I would advise that women get involved. Let's get involved in large numbers. We're going to win regardless. That's one thing I know. Whether the bill is passed or not, we're going to win regardless. A democracy is an inclusion of everybody, and we are part of everybody. So we should get involved. Do not relent. We have to multiply our strength. That's one thing that keeps us going. Multiplying our strength, because that's how we can push off any negative energy. Also, try to be involved locally in local decision making before you can even move on to state level. Be involved in decision making in every aspect of your constituency or your ward, because it's not just you being in a political office or in a political party and attending their meetings. You also have to be involved in other community gatherings that are available, community organizations that are available in your constituency. Don't assume that just because you're running for political office, you just have to go for political meetings. The best way to get into the circle is reaching out to them on a neutral ground. At some point, they will even be the ones to tell you that they need you in this position, and you pitch yourself to them again. Thank you.
So much for that. Honorable Pella, can we have your final words? What is your candid advice for women wanting to run for office in 2023?
Thank you. My advice is, first of all, we need to understand our strength. If you understand your strength, you can take it as an advantage. And also, it's important to identify weaknesses, and so that at least in your area of weaknesses, you can find a way to turn that into strength. And opportunity is very important as well. You must first of all identify opportunity. Like, when I was talking the last time, I was able to identify an opportunity, something I saw before I joined politics. The opportunity is in 2023, we are not going to have an incumbent president that is contested. This is a clear chance that we can achieve a paradigm shift. And when I say paradigm shift, I do not mean that, yes, we are going to have a youth president. I'm one of those people that believe, that you put in work to get what you want to wear. I don't believe in miracles. So and when you see that opportunity, you must understand at the same time that when opportunity meets preparedness, there comes success. How do we prepare? So that's, my word. And you need to understand that preparing to harness such opportunity goes a long way. And the first thing about your preparing to harness such opportunity is the ability to learn. Let people, in Nigeria today, we believe that the government is the problem and we are the government.
Yes, exactly.
I purposely joined politics because I want to change. And the moment I joined politics in 2018, and some people look at me today and call me a politician, and don't understand that everybody should be a politician. Every one of us should be a politician, because for everything, there are always two or more different opinions on anything. Yoruba says that you understand? So which means if you are looking at something, what you see at something that is facing you is not what the person that is saying the back, is saying. So whether we like it or not, politics is a general thing. So people should understand, they made us, they scare us from participating in politics when they tell us that, politics is a dirty game. Oh, don't get into it. And why we say politics is dirty game, don't get into it, when there is no politics, there is no Nigeria. We are Nigerians today because there is a government, there is a country called Nigeria. There's a country called Nigeria because there's a functional government, federal government of Nigeria, which is the democratic government that is only possible through the political terrain. So if you and I are saying that we don't want to participate in politics, then we are the ones that are shortchanging ourselves. Because when we tend not to participate, then the people that are there are not well informed enough to get the right people that will make policies that will affect our daily lives. So people should understand the importance of getting involved and know that we are our own problems. And that is why you see that in the lead generation, the first thing that we do is we try to go, we are committed to go to every state. And we have been to 5 states now. We've been to Oyo State, we have been to Osun State, we have done Niger State, we've done Gombe and Bauchi State. And what we're doing is we're still going to all the states. And when we go to these states, we're teaching our members on political mobilization. We are teaching them on their civic responsibilities as citizens. We are teaching them on their participation on nation building, on how to participate in nation building. And I can tell you, a lot of people, by the time people come into that training and they go back, they tell you that we have reshaped their thinking about leadership. A lot of people, when they think about leadership, they just think leadership is just about politics. But leadership happens in every sphere of life. You have leadership in the church, you have leadership in your house, you have leadership in the government, you have leadership, in everything that we do. And once you have the kind of leader that you want, for the country, then, and you build from bottom up, then you will see that you are going to be building a foundation that will be sustainable enough for us, to move forward as a country. I tell people today that 500 years to come, if we do not address ourselves as the people, because there's nothing that stops you from becoming the next House of Rep tomorrow, the same way that I was not even in politics 3 years ago.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? I came into politics because I wanted to make a change. So if you and I, we see it, that it is something that should be done, we should get involved, we should participate. And we are the kind of leader that we seek. We seek for from our own grassroots level. Then you will see that at the end of the day, we're building something of the kind of foundation that we need to build. As our country is today, we have 6 geopolitical zones, and that is further broken down into the state. That's why we have 36 states plus FCT, and that is further broken down into local government. That's why we have 774 local government, and broken down to the ward. We have 8,809 wards. In Nigeria of today, the word is so powerful that even the president cannot vote from Abuja. It will go back to Daura. And if you and I ask ourselves, what is the caliber of the people calling the shots at the world level, then you will see where our problem is as a country. If the rest of the world are building skyscrapers, it's because they have strong foundation. The world level is our smallest political element today. And that is what makes our foundation. And if we have people that are not informed there, then we will have a very weak foundation. So if the rest of the world are building skyscrapers, we will not be able to build more than bungalow, my sister. Understand what I'm saying? So what I think people should do is get involved and understand that we should build from bottom up.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Honorable.
Thank you.
It was such a pleasure having this nuggets from all panelists. And I think one thing that rings through is just us changing the narrative and everyone going back to their words. So I think for me as well, I'll definitely find where my word is and going back to make an effect change. Thank you so much, Honorable Shinopela. Thank you so much, Honorable Okiki, and Honorable Wale as well for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you participate in our session today. Thank you. So take it back to Amina to just round up, our facilitator. Thank you so much for hanging in there. So we're going to take up Amina to round up, and that will just be in 5 minutes, and then we would round up. Hopefully by 5:45 we can close out. Thank you so much. Amina, are you here?
Okay. Thank you very much, Morenike, and thank you to the panelists for, helping to make this easier by putting some sort of practical undertone into some of the things that we have been discussing earlier. So I will just quickly go back to, we have the last part of the training before we conclude for today. And while I was looking through the comments, I saw a question regarding the registration at the ward level. Someone was asking if your ward changes when you get married. Your ward does not change when you get married. If you're from a particular state, your local government, you have a ward that you belong to, that is your ward. And if you want to register as a member of a party, you register at that ward level. You don't have to, and someone also asked if your ward changes to that of your husband when you get married. No, your ward is your ward and it doesn't change even after you get married. However, I must give mention that there's been some women who have been able to run under the states where their husbands come from. I think there's an honorable member in the State House of Assembly from Benue State. I don't remember her name, but she had once shared her experience about how she was able to run for office under her husband's state and local government, not the state where she comes from. But I'm sure there's a lot of work that went into that. She made herself available to the people, they got to know her, so they felt comfortable enough to allow her, to support her to run under their local government, even though it wasn't her state of origin, but she is from that state by virtue of being married to someone who is from there. So just to quickly, I hope this sheds more light to the persons who had asked the questions about registering at the ward level. So now we are going to talk a little more about the processes. I hope everyone can see my screen. So now that you are a member of the party, how do you go from the point where you have, you express your interest to the point where you become a flag bearer of the party? And what we have tried to do is to break this down into 4 major points. which I'm going to explain. So the first thing you have to do is you need to decide to run. Make up your mind. You've become a member of a party. You need to decide that, okay, I want to run for a position. I want to run for a position at the state level or at the local government level or at the national level, and as the case may be. So when you have decided to run, the next thing that you would need to do is to pick up your forms. Some political parties, as a way of encouraging women, youth, persons with disability to run for office, would give some of these forms for free. So the nomination form, there's a difference between the two. The expression of interest form is simply you telling your party that, oh, I have interest to run for this position. So when you pick up the expression of interest form, your party you would see in the expression of interest form some of the requirements. Maybe your party expects you to have been an active member of the party. They expect you to be a member of the party who pays their membership dues consistently when they're supposed to. You would see all of the requirements that your party expects from you. That is in the expression of interest form. So when you get the expression of interest form, you would see whether you meet the requirements to run for that particular office under the party that you belong to. So after the expression of interest form, when you return it, that is when you would now get the nomination form. If you do not meet the requirement to run for that particular position, the party may deny you the nomination form. So the expression of interest it's cheaper, it's more readily available to everyone, because that's simply the point where you express your interest to run for a particular position. But the nomination form means that the party, you've been able to fulfill some of the basic requirements that the party expects you to have. And so now you have gotten to the point where you get the nomination form. The nomination form is usually more expensive. And in most cases, you would find people, when they're going to submit back these forms at their party secretariat, there would be people would go with them, supporters and all of that. And Nigeria, with how dramatic we are, you would see people singing and dancing and all of that, just as a way of showing support to the candidate who is going back to return these forms to the party. So you've decided, you've gotten your expression of interest form, you've met the requirements, you've gotten your nomination form. The next thing would be for you to participate in the primaries. So now you have said, okay, I intend to run for the State House of Assembly, for example. There may be 5 or 10 other persons from different local governments who are still members of your party who also want to run for that same position. So there has to be a primary, and the primary is the election where the candidate would be determined. So, for example, you want to run for a House of Reps member representing, the part of your state at the national level, and you are a member of Party A, but there's 6 other persons who are members of Party A who also want to run for that same position. The party has to do a primary. It's called primaries, where one of you would emerge as the flag bearer. So after the primaries, you are no longer an aspirant. You have now become a candidate. The point where you express your interest, you pick up the forms and everything, you are still an aspirant, as well as other aspirants who also have interest to run for the same position. However, after the party primary is done, and then one person is selected, one person is elected, emerges, then that means that you are no longer an aspirant, you are now a candidate, you are now the flag bearer of your party, and you are ready to move on to the stage. You contest with people from other political parties. So the party primaries is where the party decides within itself who becomes the flag bearer for a particular position. I'm trying as much as possible to break it down so that we understand most of these processes, and I hope that you're following.
Sorry, Amina, you just have 2 more minutes.
Okay, 2 more minutes. Okay, so let me just quickly finish up this. So there are some processes that you need to understand regarding to how political parties work. And then we have conventions. So like I mentioned while I was explaining the structures, the convention is the large gathering of the party. It's usually done in Abuja for most parties, or they could decide depending on what they want to do, where the national executive members are elected. So at the conventions, that's where the members at the national level are elected. The Congress is where the members at the state level are elected, and at the zonal levels as well. So for the Congresses, you have election of members at the state level, at the zonal state level, and at the national zonal level as well. I don't want to mention the party, but if you've been following the news, one of the political parties in Nigeria recently had zonal congresses where they were to elect leadership of their party at the zonal level. So the conventions is strictly for the national level, while the congresses is for both the zonal and state levels. And then the primaries, like I had said, this is where the flag bearer, the candidate of the party, is elected. This is where the party organizes an election where one person emerges as the flag bearer for a particular position of the party. So we have direct and indirect primaries as well. So for the direct primaries, every card-carrying member of the party that wishes to be part of that process to select the candidate can vote when the party wants to use a direct primary. But when it is indirect primary, let's say Ward A would decide, okay, we have chosen 4 people to select the candidate on our behalf. That means it's not every card-carrying member. The members of that ward or local government will come together and pick a number of persons who would become the delegates. So the indirect primaries is where we have the delegates, and the delegates are simply people that have been, that a particular group have agreed to be the ones to represent them, to select a candidate or to choose who emerges as the party flag bearer. And there are also 2 types of delegates, statutory delegates and non-statutory. Statutory is by virtue of position. So for some parties, former governors, serving members of the National Assembly would be automatically become delegates if the party is going to use indirect primaries. The non-statutory are those who have been selected, like I said, maybe this ward, every ward is supposed to bring 4 delegates, for example. And in this ward, we have all had a meeting and we've agreed that Mr. A, B, and C, and Mrs. A, B, and C would be the ones to represent this ward. So that is non-statutory. And then you have the statutory delegate. So this is one aspect that women really need to pay attention to, especially when it comes to the point where they become the candidates of their parties. You need to pay attention to the delegates. You need to pay attention to the process through which the delegates emerge and how you can also engage them and stand a better chance. So we've also mentioned here some of the critical stakeholders that you should look at engaging when you want to run for office. This list is not, the list is not exhaustive, but these are some of the important stakeholders that you should look out for when you want to run for office. Chairpersons, the woman leader, the delegates, and other persons of influence. They may not necessarily be ESCOs, but anybody that you see that is influential within your ward, within your local government, that people listen to. These are people that you should look out for, that you should engage as you move in your journey towards running for office. So I'll quickly go to the last point, which is on when you want to register a political party in Nigeria, because I had seen in the comments someone had asked about, how, if it is possible to form a new party that will be, have the interest of women at hand. So the section 40 of the Constitution is the part that talks about free assembly and association. So this is the section of the Constitution that covers the right to free assembly. And that means that you can come together and form a political party, but there are processes that are involved. And if you go to the INEC website also, you'll be able to find some of these guidelines already readily provided for you on the website. So the 4 that we have listed here are the major points you need to look at when forming a political party. Organize yourself, you need to decide on a name, a logo, have an executive committee, who your ESCOs are. You prepare the necessary documents. Like I said, when you go to INEC website, you would see what the requirements are for you to register a party, your constitution, code of conduct, back statement, and all of that. And then you submit all of this to INEC and a non-refundable 1 million naira. And then after that, INEC will go through all of the documents. They will check all the information you have provided, if they are true and if they meet the requirements. And then after that, you will get a feedback from INEC on whether or not your party has been registered. So if some of these processes are not complete or they are found to be false, INEC can revoke the registration of that party. Like we saw that happen some time ago when some political parties were had their registration revoked. So the last thing that I would say before I hand over back to Morenike is that it is absolutely important, very, very important and necessary that we pay attention to becoming leaders in political parties as well. It's not just about becoming candidate. It's not just about winning elections. The process that gets you to that point is also another thing that you need to look at. If we have more women who are leaders within the political party structure, then it is easier for us to have policies that support women. It is easier for us to imbibe the culture of internal party democracy. It is easier for us to insist that there has to be fairness. But where there is a national executive committee where the chairperson is male, everybody is male, only the woman leader is female, it's very difficult for her to make decisions. So as you're focusing on running for office at the national, at the state level, please also find interest in becoming leaders within your political party. It is very important, and this would also pave way for other women who would be interested in running for office. I'm sorry, it seemed like I rushed towards the end, but I hope that this has been helpful.
Thank you so much, Amina. Definitely, it was very helpful. And I'm sure so many people, just like I was taking so much notes. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for facilitating this session. And I thank you, everyone that has stayed to the very end. Please follow us on all our social media platforms and Elector NG. All of it is in the comment section, as well as the Decide to Run community. It's a progressive network of women seeking to run for office across Nigeria, and the link will be shared as well. Please do let us know the areas and different topics you would like us to kind of focus on in future trainings. Elector Academy will be hosting trainings every month, so please stay tuned. We'll be sending invites to your inbox, so please stay tuned with that. So if there are any other comments or questions, please send it across to us at communications@elector.org or at detail@elector.org. So thank you all so much for joining us today. It was a fantastic session. I learned a lot, and I'm definitely going back to my ward. And as Amina had said, as well as a woman, trying to attain key positions within political parties is one important step we all need to take. So thank you all so much, and enjoy the rest of your week as we start a week on Monday. Thank you, and bye-bye. Bye.